Hello there.
Hello,
friends,
spooky friends,
lovers. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. I'm Robert Nasir. I'm joined, as always, by the especially delightful, I hope you're catching this on video, folks, Amy Nasir.
Hello.
Too spooky. I mean, too sweet. Too spooky and sweet.
It is spooky time, October 3rd.
It is that, October 3rd, 2021. Today is Sunday the 3rd, the 276th day. Oh, it came out as a tongue twister. The 276th day of 2021 with 89 days remaining to make this your best year yet. We're going to help you do that, or at least help ourselves and talk to you about it. 83 days until Christmas, 28 days, less than a month till Halloween. This is the Halloween month. Amy has the Halloween hair. We've got the Halloween decorations started, but there's so much more to do. Hope you're joining us on that Halloween journey. And on that date, October 3rd, back in 1863, not Halloween, but Thanksgiving. Abraham Lincoln declares Thanksgiving a national holiday. This is gonna affect it's gonna relate to our entire discussion today. This day in history, October 3rd, 1863, President Lincoln proclaims official Thanksgiving holiday, expressing gratitude for a pivotal Union Army victory at Gettysburg. President Abraham Lincoln announced that the nation will celebrate an official Thanksgiving holiday on November 26, 1863, and gave a speech which was actually written by the Secretary of State William Seward, who we've mentioned before, declared that the fourth Thursday of every November thereafter would be considered an official U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving. This announcement harkened back to when George Washington was in his first term as first president in 1789, and the young American nation had only a few years earlier emerged from the American Revolution. At that time, George Washington called for an official celebratory, quote, day of public thanksgiving and prayer, unquote. While Congress overwhelmingly agreed to Washington's suggestion, the holiday did not yet become an annual event. And Thomas Jefferson, the man, Thomas Jefferson, the third president, felt that public demonstrations of piety to a higher power, like that celebrated at Thanksgiving, were inappropriate in a nation which respected the separation of church and state, and subsequent presidents agreed with him. In fact, no official Thanksgiving proclamation was issued by any president between 1815 and the day Lincoln took the opportunity to thank the Union Army and God for a shift in the country's fortunes on that day. So we're going to be talking about Halloween, but we're going to talk about Thanksgiving as well. Also on this day in history, National Unity Day. Congratulations to all of our German listeners. It is National Unity Day. It came about a year after tearing down the wall between East and West Germany, but on this day it became official that Germany was once again a unified nation. There's a whole history there, but we put links in the show notes. You can look up that important stuff. Also, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Chubby Checker.
Nice.
Chubby Checker, born Ernest Evans, October 3rd, 1941. So that makes him 80 years old today, and he is still alive and well, or at least alive. I assume that he's well. Chubby Checker, widely known for popularizing many dance styles, including the twist, with his 1960 hit cover of Frank Ballard and the Midnighters' R&B song, The Twist. He also popularized the pony with the song Pony Time. Seems we play that a lot when we DJ, when we're doing oldies. However, his best-known song is the hit Let's Twist Again, released in the same year. And also in 1962, he released the song Limbo Rock. Limbo Rock, incidentally, was a cover of an instrumental. He's the one who added lyrics to it. He also popularized The Fly and other dance styles. So happy birthday to Chubby Checker. And I wasn't going to mention it, the other great rock and roll birthday today, but
what's that? Since
Jennifer brought it up earlier in responses to our show announcement, a happy posthumous birthday, rest in peace, to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Born on this date in 1954. The Stevie Ray Vaughan connection is, we're talking about the Autumn Blues, and he was a master of the blues. But also we mentioned previously, I think last week, we mentioned Nile Rodgers, famously of Chic and the famous song Le Freak, but almost even more famously, maybe more famously, he went on to become one of the great record producers. Remember we mentioned he produced David Bowie's Let's Dance. So when did Stevie Ray Vaughan become super famous? When David Bowie heard him playing and said, I got to get this guy on my next record. When you listen to Let's Dance, when you listen to that David Bowie record, the lead guitar on that album is all Stevie Ray Vaughan. So a posthumous happy birthday to Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes.
Yes, only lived to be 35, died in a helicopter accident, a la La Bamba.
Yeah, there's a really good song by, I think it's Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's something about moonlight or something.
I don't know what song you've got in mind.
Okay, well, I'm just going to look that up right now because I think it has a Halloween connection. So.
Oh, okay, yes. When I think Stevie Ray Vaughan, of course, I always think Crossfire. But, yes, a posthumous happy birthday to Stevie Ray Vaughan. So, right off the bat, what are we listening to this week?
I'm listening to spooky stories on my podcast, but they're
Good.
They're various, so...
Because what I hadn't mentioned to you right off the bat, what I had in mind to mention is there's a great CD, a collection of oldies Halloween songs called The Haunted House.
Yeah.
We posted links to it before. We'll put the links in the show notes. I think what we need to do is we need to go on YouTube and create a playlist of all of the ones we can find out there because the CD's hard to get. It's hard to track down.
It is.
Point is, if there's music that you like listening to as you come into the holidays, if you don't have any Halloween songs that you especially like, and you know the silly stuff like Monster Mash by the Crypt Kicker 5, not really, but yeah, those are fun, the party songs. But I especially like the oldies, the silly old spooky and funny songs. 'Tain't no sin to take off your skin and dance around in your bones. Yes.
Such a great song.
Yes. Amy reminded me last night because she wasn't really feeling the holiday spirit, the Halloween spirit.
Not
and it's
yet.
October. 2 days ago it was officially October 1st. And I said, well, you should listen to, The Haunted House. You should listen to it. And she said, that's not really feeling it. But we put it on and it kind of worked. And that's going to be one of my tips for you. If you are having a hard time getting into the holidays, or if you are experiencing those autumn blues, the things that you know always work for you, but you just don't feel like doing them, trust yourself. If they always work for you, they will work again. So why did I mention Thanksgiving if it's Halloween month? See, Halloween's right around the corner, but I've got one eye on Thanksgiving because I am revisiting our autumn blues episode. I talked about this last autumn. We had an episode, and it was a couple weeks in the year before right now, so apparently when it hit us a little bit early, that feeling of autumn blues. We mentioned it briefly last week, the sense that, oh my gosh, the days are getting shorter. What is it? Right now we're in Motown here, it's Eastern time, so it's coming up on 6:15, and it already looks like it's getting darker out there.
Yeah, plus it's cloudy. There's no sunshine today.
It's
really.
cloudy. It's getting chillier every day. It's not quite as warm. The days are getting shorter. They're getting colder. More rain. Autumn blues. And again, it's not just the weather, but the sense that the days are getting short, that summer is winding down. It hits a lot of people. Now, there's a lot of people who listen to us who are in the Southern Hemisphere, or even people who are in the southern part of the United States, or people in California who are like, we don't have 4 seasons here. What are you talking about? This can apply to anybody who is hitting a rough patch. Don't we all hit a rough patch every now and then? What got me thinking about it and thinking we've got to revisit this discussion was Nikos Sotirakopoulos. Now, you might not know who Nikos Sotirakopoulos is, but
He's
Nikos
a
Sotirakopoulos is a Greek philosophy professor. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in both senses. He teaches philosophy, including the ancient Greeks, Aristotle, Plato, etc., but he's also Greek, although he's not that ancient. So he is an ancient Greek philosopher, and he is also a contemporary Greek philosopher, depending on how you parse that out. And he did a couple of talks talking about Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership. a book about leadership skills and how great leaders, really superior leaders, take ownership of every situation. Whether it's their fault or not, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. You take ownership. You take responsibility. You take it on you. And I love that because, as you know, we did an episode called Extreme Ashtray, where we talked about taking ownership, not just of situations, not just of leadership opportunities, but of your life. And one of my 4 pillars is going to touch on that. Now, there's a bit of a risk in this. I've mentioned it before when we did the Extreme Ashtray episode, but people have mentioned it since, so I'm going to cover this real quick. One of the risks of taking ownership and responsibility for everything that comes your way, which gives you great power. It means you can change things, you can take control, you can turn things around, but you don't want to take blame for things for which you're not to blame, especially if you're the kind of person, and aren't all of us sometimes, somewhat susceptible to unearned guilt, which rather than elevating you can bring you down. So we don't want that. So I'm going to tell you, when I talk about extreme ownership, when we go back to our episode Extreme Ashtray, take responsibility, take ownership, make it all yours, bring it all in, bring it on. But also remember, oh yeah, if you're not to blame, you should never take on the burden, you should never take on the guilt. And none of this is a duty, it's all a choice. So with that in mind, giving thanks, Thanksgiving is one of, or part of my personal 4 pillars. Pillars like Greek columns, Greek like Nikos Sotirakopoulos, Greek columns holding up the edifice of your own empowerment, etc., etc. So my 4 pillars for getting through the autumn blues. Incidentally, we did an episode called Autumn Blues, as I say, last autumn. And I re-listened to that episode in preparation for this one, and I have to apologize. It was good, but it wasn't that good. This is going to be better. You may want to take notes or just listen to it a second time. You might hear something where you say, oh my God, I've got to do that thing. You'll also hear things where you'll say, oh my God, I already knew that. But there will definitely be at least 5 minutes. Don't I always promise at least 5 minutes of goodness in every episode? So, my 4 pillars for managing the autumn blues. Number 1, fitness and body positivity. One of the challenges in the autumn is that we have summer routines, or even spring routines, that got us, this beach body, these pecs, made us look good. And yet, we're getting tired of our summer routines. We're getting into a season where it's not as easy to show off our summer gains. There are a lot of reasons why fitness becomes a challenge in the autumn. So my fixes for that, for this first pillar, fitness and body positivity, self-image. Number 1, write it down. Write down what you're doing in fitness. Write down what you're eating. We've talked about food journals before. I never recommend keeping a long-term food journal. It always peters out. Plan on that. Plan on it petering out. Just try to write it down for the next 3 days. If you can do a week, you are a superstar in food journals. If I can do 3 days, I find that's all I need to regain awareness of, oh man, I thought I was, eating breakfast cereal once a week, and I know that's a lousy food choice, but it's a treat. And now I realize I've been doing that every other day now for a while. Or I didn't realize I was actually having some chocolate in the afternoon, but then I was hitting the dark chocolate stash again later at night. I thought I only did that every once in a while, but now I realize I've done that a couple times this week. Do a food journal for a short period of time, however long you can keep it. It lets you regain your awareness. That came out funny. Lets you regain your awareness of what you've been doing. You may be thinking, I think, I kind of know what I'm doing. No, writing it down, getting it out of your head and down on paper makes it objective, puts the truth out in front of you, makes it so much easier to say, oh yeah, let me skip that bit today. Oh yeah, let me not buy more of those things I keep returning to. Let me make sure I'm stocking up on the good stuff. So, write it down. Food journal and fitness journal. Write down whatever you're doing. For me, it's generally bicycling. And folks know that I journal that on Facebook. You can see all of my miles on Facebook. Put it out there. You are all my accountability buddies. But one way or another, write down whatever you're doing. Your morning walks, or if you're participant in Amy's Couch to Standing workouts Monday through Friday. If you're not, you should be. Make sure you write to her about that. Whatever it is. Write down what you're eating. Write down what you're doing. That's easy. Number 2, anything is something. This is number 2 under number 1. I really should make these A, B, C. So number 1, pillar, fitness and body positivity. Item B under the first pillar, anything is something. Anything. Anything is something. Do something. If you think it's not worth getting off the couch because all you're going to do is walk around the block, do it. Walk around the block. Anything is something. And something starts everything. So do something, do anything. We'll talk about that a little more in the next pillar. Number 3, or number C under number 1. Under fitness and body positivity, you remember episode 69?
Mm-hmm.
Item C under fitness and body positivity is love on yourself. You could write love on yourself, but it just doesn't sound the same. Love on yourself. And that means you find those things that give you fun. You find those things that give you pleasure. Do I want you to take that the wrong way? Yes, I do. But also get out there and find things that you enjoy doing. God, I remember when I was young, it was, pinball arcades and movie theaters and just pure consumption, pleasures. Find some, do them. Do whatever to yourself gives you that pleasure. And take that any way you want. Seriously, you need to constantly reinforce to yourself, because the sun's not coming down the way it was in the middle of the summer. You're not looking out the window and saying, wow, life is an end in itself, just by looking out the window. No, it's autumn. You got to find those end in themselves moments, make them happen. So that's pillar number 1, fitness and body positivity. Make those things happen. Number 2. Well, maybe before I get to pillar number 2, I should see what's going on in the chat, because I hear Amy typing away. What's going on in our chat? Am I missing something important here, or is it all just, oh, Robert is so right?
Let's see, Marilyn. Hey there, Marilyn. She's both on Facebook and on YouTube. So
oh my gosh.
Now, if you're on Facebook and you haven't visited YouTube, the link is in the chat of Facebook. You can go over to YouTube and give us a like.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
support us. That would be lovely.
We need the likes. We need those YouTube likes. Thank you.
Marilyn says, I'll think about a food journal. I remember listening to last year's show on the Autumn Blues, and I think we mentioned that Marilyn was like, no, not the food journal.
Yep.
Jim is still asking us why we have a body playing the piano, or a skeleton playing the piano.
Let me explain that to you a little bit later. Yes.
Yes. So, and he also thanks us for the history lesson on Thanksgiving Day and how that was more religious tone to it.
It surprised me. The link to Lincoln's speech on it, which I'm not going to read now, is actually in the show notes. And I thought, when we were kids, and I was a kid in the 1970s, but even by then, they had already switched the story to Thanksgiving was about thanking our Indian friends who helped us to get over those first bad winters in the New World. That ain't what Lincoln was talking about at all. So Thomas Jefferson was right to be against incorporating religious holidays into the list of national holidays. And Lincoln was much more, at least in that speech, which granted was written by Seward and not by Lincoln himself, but much more pious than I would have expected.
Marius over on YouTube, he says, quote, "Oh, Robert is so right," unquote.
Yes, I agree with that, Marius. I think you've got that right on the nose. That's good. That's good. I think I can agree. Finally, something people say that I can agree with.
Yeah, Marilyn gives us a pitch on YouTube, Amy's Couch to Standing workouts.
I'm
Yay!
telling you, the Couch to Standing workout, it's a half an hour. It's relatively low impact, and yet, if you're not doing much working out, it's a night and day difference. You do this for 2 days in the afternoons or 3 days in the morning, or do all 5 of the sessions every week. And there are people participating who have said that they're already seeing noticeable results. Now, that's after a fairly short time. I should say there's also people who've been doing it for a year. I know they are seeing results. I know Amy is seeing results.
So that's really great. And then and Scott is over on the YouTubes, and he mentions, with regard to our music and Stevie Ray Vaughan's birthday.
Yes.
He says Luscious Jackson does a cool David Bowie ode.
Well, we'll have to look that up.
We'll have to look that up. And the Moon Dance song is actually Van Morrison, whom I always invariably get confused with Stevie Ray Vaughan for some reason I don't know.
Vaughn. Well, okay.
Starts with a V.
Well, let me keep monitoring the chat here, but I'm going to jump to the second pillar, the first pillar of beating the autumn blues and generally being kick-ass. The first one was fitness and body positivity. I'd love to do a whole show on body positivity and why that whole movement happened and what the good part was. But anyway, fitness and body positivity. Number 2, change up. Stand up, stand up. No, change up. A, get out of here. Get out of your house. The days start getting shorter. The days start getting cooler. It's a little harder to get yourself, say, I'm going to go out into the park until 9:30 in the evening because like by 7:30 the mosquitoes are biting. Again, the people in California are all like, we don't have mosquitoes. They don't allow mosquitoes in California. If you're someplace where you're experiencing that sense of wanting to cocoon, of wanting to retreat to your comfort zone, change it up. Get out of imagine, like a horror film, and the voice is, get out of the house. Be your own horror film and tell your ass to get out of the house. And then number 2, change one thing and you change everything. Now, I've said this before. I've said it as a cliche. It's a cliche in the coaching community. Change one thing and you change everything. Start wearing your shoes on the wrong feet. Well, no, that would be bad for your posture. But do something that changes things up for you. Break yourself out of your ruts, out of your routines. Break those habits. Well, I've got to tell you, this was fun. This morning, what did I tell you about Jean Maroney Binswanger? That you should be subscribed to her Thinking Directions courses? If you can afford it. They're not cheap. Should you be subscribed to her email newsletter where every week she sends you something like crazy, useful, and valuable? Yes, and that one costs the grand total sum price of nothing. You get this stuff every week. So this morning, just as I'm contemplating this discussion of change up, and one thing changes everything, Jean Maroney sends out an email with one of her many outstanding discussions, lessons, essays about her earrings.
Her earrings.
Her earrings. See, you have to know Jean Maroney started out as an engineer. She was not always a lifestyle entrepreneur. And when she was an engineer, she didn't worry about earrings or makeup or hairstyles or any of those traditional things. She kind of eased into the lifestyle or the style of an engineer. She obviously tells the story very well, and I'm just giving you a quick version of it. When she started doing public speaking, when she got out of engineering and started getting into lifestyles, helping people be more productive, and she's giving public speeches, she said, well, maybe I should get my ears pierced. She tried clip-on earrings, but she knew she wasn't going to be able to stick with that. They're too uncomfortable. She went out and she got her ears pierced. And the way she explains in the email, I don't have the times in front of me, but she said, within a couple of weeks, she found herself wearing makeup. Within a couple of months, she found herself dressing more nicely. She got a hairstyle. She actually got a haircut with a nice hairstyle.
Nice.
And she goes on to tell the story. You should read it yourself. If you're not already, sign up for, again, thinkingdirections.com. Sign up for the free email. She's not going to pressure you to buy anything. You just get this great stuff every week. So she tells us she changed the one thing. She got her ears pierced. And slowly over time, just noticing that her earrings and her hair conflicted. She needed a hairstyle. She got her hair cut. Once she got her hair cut, she was a little more aware of how she dressed. Once she started being more aware of how she dressed, she started thinking about makeup. It's a great story about how you change one thing and you change everything. Not everything has that cascading domino effect, but you can find those things that do, those one little bits, those little changes. All you've got to do, if you're trying to stop eating breakfast cereal, put it inside of a cabinet instead of on a counter. Or if that doesn't do it, take it out of the cabinet, put it down in the basement. If that doesn't do it, just throw it out. Seriously, just throw it out. It's $5, $10 worth of breakfast cereal. Throw it away and buy something else that you will enjoy in the morning that will be more nourishing for you. Make one change and you change everything, because then you'll start doing that with other things in your kitchen. And then you'll start doing that with other things in your house. So, pillar number 1 was fitness and body positivity. Pillar number 2, change up. Pillar number 3. Pillar number 3 in your quest to make everything magnificent, or at least lose the autumn blues, is stretch. Expand your reach. Try new things. So like for Amy and I, we've actually done some of that recently. Some of it was by design, some of it we fell into. Mm-hmm. So for example, we got together with some friends, some objectivist friends, and played the nihilistic, evil, and vicious card game, Cards Against Humanity. And oh my gosh, that was a stretch. Totally not our style. As you can tell, we're awfully nice. But it was hilarious. We had a great time. Still wasn't our style, but it was quite an evening.
It takes the right kind of people to pull that off.
No, well, not only that, but if you're like us, it takes you right out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean,
Oh, I don't know that we'll ever do it again, but it was good. It was a good shocker. It was a good thing to take me out of my comfort zone.
And it's not so much that I'm polite or I only think pure thoughts or something like that. It's just that I was actually, I always pick out of all my cards, if you've ever played this Cards Against Humanity thing, it gives you all of these different cards to pick and to put down, and then and if you get your card picked, then you get a point, or this card, or whatever, you win, or however. But all these cards are, kind of gross out. Some of them, are just inappropriately sexual, or however. I always chose the gross out ones. If anybody knows or remembers the comic strip Arnold from the 80s, from way back in the ancient times, that was all gross out, and I loved it so very much. I love Arnold, and by I think Kevin McCormick was the author of that. Anyway, so it's not, I don't know, it's not so funny for me or far out for me. So, I don't know. It's okay.
Well, I don't mean to say everything has to be shocking or over the top.
Yeah.
Later this month we'll be going to see a play of the play production version of the film Spamalot.
Oh, yes.
Which is not shocking, not terribly gross, but not my style at all. And yet, friends are producing it, and I think one of them may be starring in it, and so we're going to go. It's not our thing. It's not my thing. That's totally not my thing. And yet, do things that are not your thing. Get out of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone, I'm telling you what, if you get out of your comfort zone, if you look behind you, it will still be there when you're ready to come back to it.
Yeah.
Yes. So get out of that comfort zone. Pillar number 3 is stretch. And the final pillar in my 4 pillars of being amazing, or just getting out of the autumn blues, after fitness and body positivity, change up and stretch, is be who you are.
Okay.
And be grateful to yourself for that. We did a whole episode on sadness.
Yes.
And the take-home point of that episode, not just in regard to sadness, but in regard to anger, in regard to resentment, in regard to ecstasy, in regard to all of your emotions, is your emotions are there for a reason. They have a job to do. Mm-hmm. Let your emotions do their work. And we talked about the difference between letting that happen and wallowing, which we don't want, but let your emotions do your work. Because they're going to do that. If you experience the blues, your blues are going to help you with catharsis, with letting something sink in. You get used to it, figure out how to get beyond it. But let your emotions do their work. And the other thing I know, and I've said this before, and now I'm looking at you, I'm looking in the camera, I'm pointing my finger. For those of you on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, sorry you don't have the picture. Picture this. I am pointing at you. You, the listener. I'm not pointing at Amy. I'm pointing at you. You have gotten this far. And whether you have gotten where you are right now on Sunday, October 3rd, or whenever you're listening to this, whether you have gotten this far strong, standing up straight, proud, bold, happy, comfortable, feeling great, or whether you are really challenged and angry and frustrated and resentful and hardly getting through the day, but still getting through the day, or whether you're sad or disappointed or hurt or challenged in some way. Wherever you are right now, I know this much, just this one little thing that I do know about you, and that is that you have gotten this far. And whatever you're facing, or whatever you're looking forward to, you will get through this. I don't have to know much about you to know that you have awesomeness in you. And I want you to be grateful to yourself for having gotten this far. Be who you are. You've gotten this far. You may be awesome, or there might be better times ahead for you, but you've made it this far, and you deserve to be praised for that. And I want you to give yourself that praise, and I'm going to give you that praise too. What does this guy know about me? I know that much.
So we have a question from Jim.
Yes.
He says, could this be an example? And I apologize, I'm not sure how this relates, but quote, boy, I really did a good job cleaning this room. I think I'd like to do the same for the rest of the house, unquote. Does it motivate you to do more if you do even just one thing that you like?
That's practically an archetypical example. That's a great example. You do one thing, and it leads you to the next thing. And not just because, well, as long as I did this one thing, now I'm on a roll, now I'm kind of going. That's part of why that works. But I've always said things that work well don't have just a single cause. If they do, they don't work as well. But this gives you multiple benefits. Now that you have one clean room, you start getting anxious about they don't match. They should match. And also you get excited, like, wouldn't it be great if the whole house looked like this? But also you're now moving, you're energized. Like when you start exercising, it's easier to keep going than to get started. When you start cleaning, it's easier to keep going than to get started. And not just because your body's feeling the energy, but now you've got all the cleaning supplies out. You're in that state of mind. You're thinking in terms of dusters and sponges and cloths and cleaning chemicals, and all of these things stack up. It's why you change one thing and you change everything, because it's very hard to change one thing without changing a whole host of related things. Make that one little change, that easy change, and give yourself permission, per my 5-minute rule. Give yourself permission after 5 minutes to say, you know what? I don't want to keep doing this. And don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad. Next time it might go differently, but this time you have that right, you have that permission to know, oh yeah, this is one of those 5 minutes kind of things. I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to commit to. After 5 minutes, I'll decide if I want to keep going. You have that right.
Yeah. All right, well, I have some things prepared if you'd like, if this is a good time there,
It is
Robert
always
Nasir.
a good time for Amy.
All right, so I was brainstorming just a bit ago, just today, about, how to, kind of pep up our lives, spice up the marriage, as if I'm kidding.
Ooh.
Well, maybe not. So here is my thoughts here. These are some things. Tell me, Robert, what do you think of these?
Yes.
Number 1, do a creative challenge for like a half an hour. So you can, come up with a topic or whatever it is, come up with a medium or however, like for instance, write a poem about a hat or whatever.
Yes. Well, if you're an artist, It is Inktober.
Oh, yeah, it is Inktober.
It is Inktober. So you can get on board with that if you like.
Yeah, so you can, do something every day with a particular spooky theme.
Well, it's funny
like
because
Holly is doing, which is wonderful.
The gal who started Inktober actually created a list. So on the first day, you would ink something that involves crystals. And on the second day, she'll give you a different topic. And there's a whole list, and it's published. But that's always optional. You can just say, well, I'm doing Inktober, but I'm doing my own things. I'm not going to follow the themes of, crystals and then butterflies and then blah, blah, blah. So yes, do that however you like. But yeah, certainly doesn't have to be inking. It can be poetry.
Yeah.
Folks know that I did poetry reading last week after having promised that I would do it the week before that, but I ran a week late. It did finally get did. So that's good.
So Holly, if you're still there, could you go ahead and put that hashtag in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments for Inktober? And there was one other one, hashtag something or other I'm forgetting, that you're doing. So the theme was haunted, I think, for yesterday or something like that. Really, really cool stuff. So, all right. So basically, like, so you have a hat with topics or whatever, and you pick up a medium, you do it for half an hour. So like for lines of a poem, real quick and easy, maybe a little drawing, maybe a little whatever it is. So the next one is we can ask each other what the best part of our day was before we go to bed. And that would be really nice. I think that would be very positive, very uplifting, and it kind of gives us something to maybe even look forward to when we wake up in the morning, kind of primes our subconscious for a better dream, perhaps, all of that. So that might be nice.
Well, that's good, because my pillar number 4 is all about gratitude exercises. So certainly if you have a partner that you can bounce that off of, that would be great.
Yep. So for what I'm going to be doing is this week I'm going to be journaling every morning, every day, which is really nice. Journaling, I mean by morning pages, which basically means stream of consciousness. Just keep writing until you hit either 1 page, 2 pages, or 3 pages, however, or how much time you have. So as you put, something is better than nothing in one of your pillars there. So
yes, something is better than nothing.
Yeah. So another one is dancing in the morning or take a walk in the morning. So you get active right when you wake up.
Yes.
You don't have to hit the coffee or the tea or whatever. Just get some water in you and wake yourself up with some kind of physical movement. Dancing would be really fun, actually.
Yes, I like approaching that with curiosity. If you're going to try to do anything that's out of your usual routine, like dancing before you've had coffee, you might find it easier if you just challenge yourself with, well, I probably can't dance without coffee, but let me see what happens. Go at it with curiosity. Let me just try it. Maybe it'll be a disaster, but it can be one of those 5 minutes things where, maybe it'll be a total train wreck and 5 minutes later I'll give up. I like that idea of approaching things with curiosity. This might not be a good idea, but let's see. Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and then the last one here I have is doing a food comparison. So I had this idea. It might be a little bit costly, so we would limit it to every couple of weeks or something like that. But for instance, buy a whole bunch of different chocolate milks and try to determine which one we like best. Or even better, you can, if you want to get off of the cow's milk and go into, say, almond milk or soy milk or any of the other kinds of milks, cashew milk, oat milk, whatever. And because this is the thing.
What is the thing?
Speaking about getting out of your comfort zones, I don't drink any of the plant-based milks by themselves. I put them in smoothies, I consume them that way. I've never actually taken a sip of one straight. So that would be a lot of fun. Maybe get 3 different kinds of plant-based milks, sit down together, and then see if we can stomach any of them.
Now, do you opt for non-dairy milks because they sit better in your stomach, or do you think they're more healthy? Or?
Yeah, they're more healthy. You can get them with not as much sugar. Regular milk has sugar, And oftentimes we buy whole milk here in the Nasir household.
We always buy whole milk.
And that's
Yes.
It's just there's a lot of calories going on there, a lot of sugars going on there, a lot of hormones going on there, and it's it's not good for me, I'll tell you that. It tells my body, hello, Amy, why don't you add some more storage? That's what it does for me. So so anyway, food comparison, you can do food comparisons of anything. I mean, I could sit down and compare what I like the best in terms of green, yellow, or red bell peppers, or whatever it is. Just have fun with food, have fun with trying different things, and maybe even journaling that or putting that down into a book. So, hey, shout out to Jennifer. She says, choco milk. Jim says, do I have to take off my skin like the song says? It's getting colder outside.
Well, you don't have to, but it tain't no sin.
It ain't no sin to take off your skin. Incidentally,
Jim also says that moving forward that you're talking about, do many people start getting afraid when they're about to move forward? And the answer there is, that is a thing that happens. It's one of the reasons why I have my 5-minute rule, which I don't think is new with me. I'm sure I picked that up or developed it from what other people suggested. But no, the 5-minute rule is precisely about if you're finding yourself hesitant to start an activity or a project, for all the reasons that you think it's going to be difficult, it's going to be painful work, you're worried about failure, you're worried about not seeing it through, you're worried about being disappointed with the results. There are all sorts of reasons why we postpone starting a project or an activity. So giving yourself that permission to say, well, this is one I'm going to give myself the 5-minute rule on. This is one where I'm going to give this 5 good minutes and then decide then if this is the right time to continue with this. Absolutely, that is a thing that people run into. It's one of the great topics of the coaching world. I could make a living just teaching people how not to procrastinate. Although my top rule for procrastination is procrastinate later. Always put off your procrastination. I'll procrastinate later, but right now things need to get done.
Yep, and so we have, Mary Elaine says, morning pages before you go to work. Wow. Yeah, morning pages are really the best when you are just awake. You just woke up, you're gonna take 20 minutes to do some journaling, and you're just gonna write down whatever comes to your mind. What I usually do is have another piece of paper or my to-do list or something like that beside the paper, because as I'm doing this and as I'm writing things down, I'm thinking of things to do, and I don't really want to clog up my journaling for that. I want to ask myself how I'm feeling emotionally, what's going on, what are my concerns, what do I think about myself, and particularly for me anyway, to get to things that I might be critical of in myself. And then I can kind of ask myself, well, is that really a realistic criticism, and so on and so forth. That really helps me. That unclogs the mind, gets the cobwebs. The cobwebs off my mind.
And out of your hair.
out of my head.
Incidentally, I have to say both Marius and Mary Elaine are on the side of whole milk. So I don't feel totally alone here.
Yeah, no, I need to find now Patty actually. Hey there, Patty. Hey. She says
organic oat milk.
Oat milk. Yeah.
And goat milk.
Goat milk. Now I have never had goat milk before, but I could try to do oat milk.
Milking a goat. I guess it would be like milking a cow.
That's exactly what you do. Yes.
Probably easier than milking almonds.
Yes.
Yes.
So there we go, guys.
So there we go.
Those are my ideas, which I'm going to print out and put up on my mirror or something, like Robert. Yeah, something really wild and crazy like Robert does. So.
Yeah, well, what's going on my mirror this week, as we wind down the conversation, having gone through the 4 pillars. I love calling them pillars. It sounds so elevated. It sounds so fancy. The 4 pillars I'm using to get through the autumn blues: fitness and body positivity, change it up, stretch, and be who you are. Be grateful to yourself. I'll write that out and post it all. what I'm bringing forward from last time, we did talk about vitamin D. Soak up the sun. If you are in northern climes like we are in Motown and the days are getting shorter, take a little extra vitamin C because you might not be getting as much sun. When the sun is out, get out there and get a piece of it. Number 2, for fitness, fatigue. And people are getting sick of their fitness routines. Change things up. So that's similar to what I'm doing this year. Toward activities which spark joy. Remember, that was a phrase from Marie Kondo last year. Comfort food cravings, redirect to healthy alternatives. Stock up only the good stuff. Price no object. I've always found, too, if you only put expensive healthy things out there, A, you'll eat them, you won't waste them, and B, you'll eat less, so it'll help you keep your calories in line. Buy expensive stuff. And the final one from last year was, and I didn't mention this year, the final tip from last year's talk was, limit your social media.
Oh, right.
You can do as much as you want online, as long as you just got to meet these criteria. Do as much as you want, as long as it is purposeful, meaningful, mindful, intentional, rational, and here's the kicker, positive. In other words, don't do stuff for no reason. Do stuff because you mean to do it and because it has some value. I don't know, I think that's a good piece. That may be the most important bit of advice left over from last year. And the one other thing that I'm taking forward from last year is my Post-it note for the week. I've used this one before. I'm going to use this one again. You've heard me say it before. You'll hear me say it again. You've probably heard it so many times that you, too, can now say it without stumbling over it. Yesterday, today was tomorrow, and tomorrow, today will be yesterday. So remember that. Remember tomorrow. Tomorrow you will be reaping the rewards of whatever decisions you made today. How do I know that's true? Because right now you are reaping the rewards of whatever you did yesterday. So yesterday, today was tomorrow. Tomorrow, today will be yesterday. The implicit ending of that is act accordingly. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining us. I could not resist revisiting the topic of autumn blues. It didn't really hit us 2 weeks ago like it did in 2020, but then 2020 was a hell of a year, or maybe just hell.
A hellish of a year.
Yes, 2020 was hell. Okay, it was rough. I mean, there were so many good things that happened in 2020, but still, I'm not surprised. Looking at the podcasts that Autumn Blues hit us a few weeks earlier, this year came a little bit later. I'm feeling a bit of it, but I feel well armed. I feel I've got and I don't mean armor in the sense, but armed with weapons to fight this, to stave it off, and to make sure that the coming holidays, Halloween, our wedding anniversary, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then New Year's are going to be outstanding. I wish that for you too. I am hoping that you have it in mind to make sure that the next few months are going to be as dazzlingly wonderful as I'm sure your summer was. You in the Southern Hemisphere, sorry about the inversion there. Translate it into your own holidays and seasons as you know.
And I just want to remind everybody that we have a couple of ways for you to support us if you'd like to see us keep doing this, keep going, and all of that. And you've got that right there. So why don't you tell us about that, Robert?
Well, you can do it if you like. I just need to know which parts of my end of the show routine you're planning on covering.
Well, just go to robertnasir.com. There's really nice links there for you, and Robert conveniently puts the 5 Minutes show from last week up on that site for your convenience. We are here for you. We try to give you as much wonderful content as possible, and we do hope that everything that we say, all these things that we tell you, and all these things we brainstorm, and all this work we put into this is helping you. It's certainly helping us. And if you'd like to have that whole trader principle, win-win, spiritual trade sort of thing going, all you do is go to robertnasir.com, click on PayPal for a one-time tip, or go to patreon.com for monthly tips. That would be most appreciated. I just want to give a shout out to all of our patrons. We love and adore you, and take it from here, Robert.
I think you got it covered. Show notes will be online within 5 minutes after the end of the show. You covered Patreon, you covered PayPal, you covered questions and comments can be posted in our Facebook group. And no, I think you got it all. Go to robertnasir.com for all that Robert Nasir-y creamy goodness. And hook us up in any way that you choose to. Engage with the show in any manner that suits your ends. And throw money. Oh,
Yeah.
did I say that out loud? Anyway, thank you so much. You guys are the best.
Yeah, and we do have a Facebook page, which we promise to be more engaged on. It's
Do we?
5 Minutes with Robert Nasir
Ooh.
at Facebook. So we'll, of course, keep you updated on all the links that we do on our other show on Thursday evenings at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's called Life on Earth on the Ayn Rand Center UK channel. So we post those there as well, and it'll keep you informed on all the Nasir goodness.
Yes. If there's anybody listening to 5 Minutes who hasn't been part of Life on Earth yet, oh my gosh. Here.
Welcome to Life on Earth.
I mean, how's that for... I need to come up with a theme song for this show that's got that kind of chorale going on there. You know, we hired 12 different singers to do that intro to Life on Earth there. And by hired, I mean I just recorded my own voice 12 times. But anyway, join us for Life on Earth, Thursdays at 5 o'clock. As always, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, which always includes Amy Nasir, Sundays at 6 o'clock. I don't know, should I rename the show? Maybe we should take up a vote.
Oh, I think you should anyway.
You think I should rename the show?
Yeah.
Oh, Amy thinks I should rename the show 5 Minutes with Amy Nasir. What do you guys think of that?
We're waiting patiently for all of your yeses to come on in.
I don't know.
There is a delay.
I'm kind of
so-
attached to my branding, but
no, we'll see.
But Amy has been my co-host for every single one of the 80, where are we at, 84 episodes?
Scott says, is there room for both? Yes.
Is there room for both? There is room for
Hatia
both.
says yes.
Well,
Oh, Lebruz, and by the way, he says yes, but he also says, hi, this is my favorite podcast ever. Oh my
Wow.
goodness, thank you so very much. Greetings from Uruguay. So sorry I butchered that name. Yeah, thank you so very much down in South America. That's so lovely.
well, thank you, Lou Bruce. That's awesome. And I love first-time listeners, or at least first-time chatters, first-time commenters.
Yes.
Too cool.
5 minutes with Amy and Robert, says Jennifer.
Yeah, well, Lou Bruce says 50 minutes with Amy, which, would be more accurate, I guess. Wow, I'm really gonna have to think this one through.
All right, we'll see for our next time.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. As always, we wish you, and I'm pointing the finger at the camera, and that means the person listening right now, we wish you success. We wish you happiness. We wish you flourishing, whatever that means. No, we want to see you blossom. We want to see you like a weed encompassing the entire world. Okay, my metaphors are a mess today.
No, a beautiful flower.
A beautiful flower.
Vining
We want to see
flowers.
you flowering in the world. But seriously, we do wish you happiness. We do wish you success. We do wish you the means, the tools, the power, the extreme level of ownership in order to face any blues that may be coming your way, get through them, knock them out, and get to that very next thing that you really, really want out of life. And as always, and maybe more so this week than last week, but not as much as the week before that, we wish you love.
Mwah.